to our next game. And here Adhiban is white against Anish Giri. And comes with bishop to c4. The bishop's opening. Now here, after d3, there's one main line that goes with like c6 and d5. C6 here was played by Wei Yi in the same tournament against Carlsen. So Carlsen also essayed the bishop's opening, which is also an interesting game, but one that I've already gone over and is already up on my YouTube channel. So we won't go over that again. Giri plays knight c6. I actually had this position once as black, and I played the line that Giri plays here, which is basically black's playing to quickly be able to play d5. They know that white is hoping to play f4. Okay, that's the reason why white has delayed knight f3 in this line. Like, the reason for this move order with like d3 and all this is white's playing a move order designed to eventually play like f4, knight f3, and get a king's gambit where they didn't lose a pawn. Okay, and in the meantime, what they're doing is they're preventing black from playing d5, which is the counter to the Vienna. The Vienna is also an attempt at playing like f4, right? But the thing that you have to do in the Vienna or the bishop's game is avoid black playing a quick d5 against you, which can mess that all up. So knight c6, knight c3. So white's trying to stop d5, but then after bishop to b4, right, black's move order of quick development actually means that white has trouble keeping this d5 square, right? If you play f4 here going for a king's gambit, I think you get a pretty bad version of it after d5 by black. It's threatening your bishop, so like you take, then black takes. Now basically you have to start trying to like defend d2. But you haven't moved your knight, you haven't castled. Black's already countered in the center with d5, so even if you trade these pawns, white won't have much of a good position here. And, you know, there's a question of whether or not you will end up down a pawn in some position like this, which could be tragic. So yeah, basically f4 was straight up refuted by d5 here. So knight e2 is played. I guess the other move that you could play if you're really still trying to go for f4 and trying to stop d5 would be like, maybe you could play bishop g5. And this will stop d5 by black. I mean, basically what I would expect would be h6, bishop f6, queen f6 in this line. But this queen on f6 is also going to prevent f4. So we're not going to play f4. We are preventing black from playing d5, but we've handed black the bishop pair, and we're not going to achieve f4. There's nothing incredible about white's position here, I would say. Nothing even good, really, about it. So anyway, so Adhiban plays knight e2. That's what I've seen before as well. Now d5, ed5, knight d5, and white just castles. Bishop e6. Okay, so this seems super, super solid by Anish. It looks like a perfectly good position for him. I mean, white can now eventually engineer f4, but it looks more like an equalizing move than a move that puts any kind of pressure on black, right? Yeah, that's right, destruct 1. Usually that dark squared bishop is going to be better than the knight. So the line with bishop g5 and then just taking on f6 for no reason is not very promising. Especially like the earlier you make that kind of trade, the more chance your opponent has to set up and like handle it properly. So this position here, I mean, I've seen this before. My understanding of this is that this position is not good for white. So what does Adhiban do with this position? He trades once, plays f4. Frankly, it looks like black could just completely ignore everything white's doing and like castle. On an fe5, just play knight e5. I don't think Black can't really like punish by pushing ahead e4 because white has e4 covered whether or not you trade here. If white trades on d5, then temporarily white has like nominally the better bishop, but the black bishop has plenty of good diagonals, so it doesn't matter. Position should be about equal if things just trade. The other option would be to play ef4, but that seems worse, bringing out one of these pieces. Better to let white take and bring your knight to e5. We don't need to go too into detail to see whether knight f4 is good for white or whether knight d5 followed by knight f4 is good for white. It's just slightly wrong to take on f4. So, okay, so let's see what Anish did. f6. Huh. I'm surprised that he felt that was more useful than just castling. Adhiban trades because he's got to develop. c3. That deals with bishop c5. Knight f4, queen f7, d4. Suddenly, white's getting a small edge, actually, like out of the blue. Because if the knight moves, rook e1 is a little bit annoying. There are ideas of like d5 and knight e6, which could be annoying. I don't like this move f6, basically. This seems like the culprit here. So let's say I just played my move, which would be to castle. Let's see what might have been wrong with this. If I had played this game as black, I would have played all these moves up to this point, and here I would castle instead of playing f6. So let's see. I mean, I'm really not scared of f5. He could take, like he did in the game. I mean, he could try and replicate the same thing in the game. Get rid of my good light-squared bishop. Play c3 when I can't go here. Yeah, I couldn't throw in bishop c5 because of d4 or knight e3. So play c3 when I can't go to c5. I mean, you could still go to c5, actually. You could play like here, check, and then just back here, right? And then next move the knight. So technically, you still could. I'm also calculating knight d3, which is not quite good enough. F takes and rook f5. Okay, we're going to look at that idea, Borkro. So let's say I play like most simple looking move. And then knight f4 again, probably. Now queen onto c6. And what do I think? Well, it's basically a playable game. I've played the structure a million times out of the King's Gambit. Looks like basically a playable game for either side. I guess I'd be okay with that as black. Let's see what Borkro's suggesting, which is to play rook f5 in this position. Now it seems like I might need to play f6, but even then he might have a move like d4. So this is like a tactical try here. f6. The thing about d4 is, well, first of all, d4 right away, there's just bishop e6. So let's try knight takes, queen takes. But now after d4, this piece is undefended, so there's not even a threat if d takes e5. Added to that, black has the move queen e4, no, then rook f4. Queen e6 gets out of this. Yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's any way for white to get anything here. I think this is just equal as well, basically. Yeah. Okay, so to me, it looks like nothing too special. Should be about equal. But then I was thinking that in the game, this d4 move looked dangerous. I remember thinking that like black was about to be in danger here, and then Anish plays castles queenside. And it so happens that you can't take the knight because of bishop c5 check. And now the game gets more complicated. Queen a4. Possibly threatening this and threatening this. And with the kings on opposite sides, Adhiban has at least got an interesting position for himself here. So Anish calmly plays a6. And here, Adhiban played queen b3, and things kind of peter out. Black's able to trade off queens, go knight g6, and get an equal endgame. You know, close enough to equal, let's say, as to be, I wouldn't know what to do. I wouldn't have a clear idea of how I was going to try and win this game if I was playing someone rated 300. So let's just check whether or not Adhiban could take the knight here. So I think the next move is surely check. So bishop e3 gives back the extra piece. Black's fine. Rook f2 doesn't work because of takes, king takes, and then pawn takes, winning this. So the main line would be here, and then this. And now the point is the knight can't move because of queen takes f1. And the question is, does white have any way to wiggle out of this or get an edge or anything going here while black is taking back that piece on f4? So one tricky move that doesn't work but is devilish would be bishop e3, threatening this bishop and defending the rook so the knight can move now. If pawn takes knight, then white stays up a piece. And if bishop takes, the idea would be to move the knight and attack something. But it turns out the queen covers all the knight's aggressive moves. So it doesn't work, right? Like knight d5, queen d5 saves the bishop from the knight. And in fact wins. So bishop e3 is nothing here. If you play queen b3, then you get an equal position again, basically. Black trades, takes back the piece, and you get this position, right? Pretty dead equal. Any other tricks still available for white? Anything with b4, b5? That would be an attempt to do something. Here, say. Knight still can't move. I mean, my idea was to play b5, but I'm thinking like a5 probably offers a decent defense. You can go for c4, c5, but I think it doesn't really work out because of this move. Now, this might be worth checking. This could get really messy. Yeah, indeed. This can get messy. Oh no, rook f4 defends the queen. Yep, that fails. I guess bishop takes b6. And then rook c1. That actually wins. You'd offer a draw because you're playing Giri. Like, this move looks like it might win a rook, but I am playing Giri, so I'm probably just wasting my time. It will end in a draw eventually, so rather than figuring out why, we'll just offer it. Yeah, this actually wins a piece, this weird tactic here. So, complicated. Complicated here. This would be the thing for, this would be the thing for Adhiban to have tried. I imagine he looked at it. Let's say black just takes on f4. And white just takes back with the bishop. And we get to this point. Now here, black has to watch out for moves like bishop g5. So maybe here you develop the rook. Makes sense to develop after all. And now, if the bishop moves, we have queen f1. The white queen is kind of committed over here. She doesn't have a good way back into the game. With the rook covering her, you know, white doesn't want to play like queen c2, g5. So white's options are, white doesn't really have a way to defend the rook other than f3, which still leaves the back rank weak. So maybe rook f3, or maybe we calculate c5 here as well. So c5 here, connecting with this, and that was the plan. Bishop takes. Queen here makes sense. I mean, we got to admit, white's at least doing something, right? He's doing something here. Threatening queen e8 to b7. So like a move like bishop to b6 here. White has queen a8 and then queen b7. If rook to d1 doesn't just win, which it might, but at least queen a8 to b7 is definitely bad for... Oh yeah, it does win. So queen a8, king d7, rook d1 wins. So there's like king to b8 here, basically. That's like the only idea. And this is problematic because now you may never have bishop b6 anymore. Although maybe you do. I mean, maybe the saving grace for black is that you can play this kind of move anyway. And then here and here. You can go up one pawn. No, that loses a rook. Drawish. That's pretty exciting. It's pretty exciting, even though it did end in a draw again. Yeah. Okay. Well, my feeling is that this would be the thing to like try and go for, but it really commits the queen here, and I think it probably barely leads to equality. This line here, surprisingly, was winning for white. This was risky. Maybe the a4 move would have turned this line on its head as well, though. And still been fine for black, yeah. Yeah, actually, that's a big deal. Rook d4, and on this move takes here, and a4 would totally change this variation. And then this variation just fails for white. There's no knight move good enough because of queen f1 check and pawn takes queen. And if the queen moves anywhere off of this diagonal, then I think black's in pretty good shape. I mean, she has to defend this bishop now. Like here or something, and then... Bishop e3 instead of c4. Yeah, this position here is going to fail for white, pretty sure. So we had another suggestion of not playing c4. Bishop e3 instead of c4. We basically already discussed this, that black can just take it with his bishop, and there's nothing good for white there. So, yeah. So it looks like this barely held together for Giri. I think safer on f4 would have been to just castle instead of playing f6. It doesn't seem like the most useful move to me. Not a terrible move, though. And I guess the fact that he held the balance in the critical lines partly serves to confirm or prove that point. That this is not so bad for black, even with the move I didn't like. All right.